I have been witnessing some sprinkler improvements here at my house. My father has done quite a bit. Our system had been dormant for quite some time. And I'm sure the first thing you'll notice here is a bunch of overspray, but in a system like ours, which as you'll soon see in a minute, has the water pumped out of the canal that's behind our house, the water in fact is free to us, save for the costs of running a 220 volt operated pump. But with the system the way it is, and without adding a ridiculous amount of more heads, just because our yard is a rather odd shape, solving this without having overspray on the driveway is really a non-issue. So I have these adjusted full tilt where they cover the most of the yard I possibly can get. This here is what used to be zone 1 before our house fire, and they ripped the whole box off of our wall and put in a new one. When they wired it in, of course, all the zones are wrong. I'm going to get around to putting them in the way they should be, though. Here's a bit of a demonstration of this as well. It'll be zone 1 sooner or later. I'll come into the house and set the panel to, or come into the garage rather, and set the panel to zone, what used to be zone 2 and is now zone 1. So you can see what that one does. Oh, I forgot this thing likes a double tap on the thing. Can't just press it once. We went from having an ancient mechanical timer. There. Now it's doing something. To having this fancy digital controls. This here is our zone 2. Have these two pop-ups serving this area here. The other pop-up is right by the wheel of the Cadillac. The bricks protect it from cars. This pop-up here, getting some of the flower bed. You have this sprinkler right here, which serves most of the front of the house here. Continues on and gets over here by the telephone pole. There's this other sprinkler right here, of which I'm going to back up so you can get most of it in frame. And then a pop-up serving down by the fire hydrant. There's another sprinkler back there that I'm going to duck and run to get over to it. But it is an ancient Rainbird sprinkler. It's been here for probably 20 years. It's one of the few that, you know, aren't near a driveway, and so they don't get destroyed when cars hit the grass. You can just tell how old it is by the green top. I'm going to get hit by the other one. But these serve this area here. There really isn't much that hits this back area, though. It doesn't really get covered well. I mean, this sprinkler gets about 3/4 the way. This whole area right here is unwatered, although it is technically the neighbor's property, so we really shouldn't care, but we maintain it. Or rather, we cut the weeds on it. This will be sorted out before my graduation party upcoming this summer, though. And there is, as you can tell, all the heads have been dug up around them. As I said, the system was dormant for quite some time. I'll show you what the backyard is doing. You won't get to see the zones in operation because I'm not advancing this from this one. In fact, I'm putting it back on the other one before I go back there. I'd already watered that spot. I'll put it for 25 minutes. But there's been a bunch of work going on. Oh, and the Duomatic cabinet is back from my auto shop class. it got repainted. Here in the backyard, my mother's bastion, if you will. She's done all this fine gardening over the years, and I have to trim that hedge soon. And there's our air conditioner, a Bryant model. But back here, this here is another one of those same sprinklers with the green head, the green centerpiece. It's just missing. There's another sprinkler underneath that old riding lawnmower that's going to be hitting the road soon. Here is where a majority of our nightmare is. There's the pump house over here, and I'll explain where the problem lies. This here houses the 240 volt operated pump. The valve assembly is underneath these rocks. You can pry it up to clean up, move the rocks, and then you can get access to the panel. And we pull our water from the canal here. But here is the pump. It's an ancient one. It's been here forever. Probably since the system was new. I'm going to try to get a shot of what brand it is. But they stay right. And here's a shot of the panel detail. But this here is a main pump for the whole system. If I can get the top put back on the... Okay, I'll have to sort that out after the video is done. But it feeds on one of the zones. This here rotor, which is going to get replaced soon with a real sprinkler, a real one, a traditional impact. This sprinkler here is fed by the same zone, and this line, the center one, not the one to the left, continues on and feeds a sprinkler that is somewhere in here the sprinkler bashed out a while back, and we lost where it was through garden work and the fact that we weren't here for a while. It also, after going through that sprinkler, feeds a sprinkler that is underneath our apple tree, which is at this point quite overgrown. We're half considering whether we should keep the tree. But there's another sprinkler here which is going to need maintenance, as well as a final sprinkler over here. This one is run via a line that follows right around where the framing of this video is, through over to here. The other one over there, I believe, tees off somewhere in between the line going from that one to the one that should be over here. We have water coming in to these two sprinklers. We get plenty of flow, everything's working just fine for these two. And why we discontinued operation of the system is that beyond these two, none of the others in this zone work. So I've started slowly the process of digging up this line and slowly tracing it through, which unfortunately it appears to go through underneath this tree, probably the main source of the problem, which is going to cause, if you will, a forced reroute or detour of the line, where I'm just going to sever it somewhere around here and start digging a trench around the garden over to here, where I'm hoping I'll find the line somewhere that goes to this one, so I can tie it into the system there. In fact, I really have to, but yeah, this summarizes what we've been doing with sprinklers. This one over here, which is tied to zone 3 that I showed earlier, one of the lines feeding it here burst under the ground and started filling up with water here and made a gigantic mess, and so my father marked that for future repair. But yeah, this here is kind of what we've been doing with our sprinkler system. I was, if you will, inspired by Jay's video on Jay's series on XJO81X's sprinklers, as well as my own desire to get this whole system done. The other sprinkler is back here that goes on the same one that is right by that red ball. There's a final sprinkler that is over here which is at this point, frankly, buried and hidden, but it really doesn't matter what it's doing at this point because it doesn't serve any purpose with this garden here. My mom kind of hand waters this, although if we do get it working, this is on what should be zone 5. It's somewhere in here. But this is, if you will, the sprinkler system. And as you can tell, I've got tons of outstanding other projects that I might make videos on. Namely, here is a General Electric filter flow. Let me get the garage lights on so I can show that off better. But this here is a General Electric filter flow that I'm hoping to sooner or later make a few videos of cycles that it does, but that is under consideration. And here's my rinky-dink plumbing solution. My father, being a plumber, put in our garage here a urinal. How nice. But he won't let me plumb my washing machine directly into the line and just get rid of the urinal. He won't let that happen. And so we tried just putting a standpipe that would drain directly into the urinal and have this pump into that. Actually, it was a Maytag at that point, but I couldn't do that. It would just completely overrun the urinal's capacity too quickly. So what I did was I put in this wash tub and then tied this valve here at the bottom, which allowed me to regulate the flow as it goes into there. So it kind of stores up the water as the machine pumps out and slowly lets it into the urinal at the rate the urinal can take it. Unfortunately, I had to jack the whole tub off the ground a bit for the plumbing to work, but this here is kind of my own solution for the problem. I previously, when I had my Maytag in here, had a long bit of black sump pump tubing that would run out the door when necessary. The issue with that was that when you ran the permanent press cycle and it went a half of a spin for 1 minute, and that to where it would only pump out half the water so it could refill with cold again, it would keep on siphoning the water out when it tried to start filling. This concludes my video.